is former presidential candidate of the Green Party for 2020. Uh, just full disclosure, I did vote for him, but I didn't know he was like this until now. So
I have to say, in the interview that I did with Howie Hawkins and also with Primo Nutmeg, who also or Primo Radical now, he also did an interview with Howie Hawkins, and especially with the stance for Julian Assange. I mean, it kind of threw me off. I would say that the Green Party in 2020 not only spectacularly failed miserably, but I urge everyone to check out Nico House's channel and follow his previous work that he did in regards to the Green Party rigging up their primary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no one talks about the 2020 Green Party primary and how odd that thing was going, because it was almost like a click copy version of what was happening in 2016. But there you go.
Mm-hmm. So let me show you guys. I took a screenshot just in case he took it down, but I don't think he did. I don't think he took it down. Let me check.
Okay, I think his screen is still frozen, but we will still carry on.
Yeah. Is it loading?
It should.
I want to show the actual. Yeah. Ah, jeez, Louise. This guy. All right, so let me share with you guys. Share my screen really quick. So this was from Howie Hawkins. He said, some of the peace movement call for a ceasefire and negotiations by U.S.-led Western imperialists with Russian imperialists to carve up Ukraine between them and call it peace. Stop pressuring Ukraine to accept partition. Sign this petition. So it's basically a meme with Vladimir Putin, and it says we had to destroy the city in order to save it. Now, I don't think Howie Hawkins actually gets what this means. A lot of people are basically saying, people like myself, that we need to get away from this proxy war. There needs to be a peace deal done. According to Naftali Bennett, there was a peace deal being formulated at the time, but then people like Boris Johnson got in the way and said, no, you will not have a peace deal. And it basically blocked the peace negotiations between Zelensky and Putin. So the West basically interfered from having any type of peace deal. And now you have people like Howie Hawkins that are saying, no, Ukraine needs to continue to fight Russia, even though it is at the cost of thousands of Ukrainian and Russian lives. What do you think? What do you think of, and not to mention Howie Hawkins also believes in Russiagate, but what is your opinion on Howie Hawkins' stance regarding the proxy war in Ukraine?
Okay, first of all, every day that this war goes on, I keep on saying this, is again us teetering towards the inevitable point in which you're going to have some jagoff somewhere in their office, whoever they may be, American or Russian, looking at that shiny red button that says nuke on it and say, oh, geez, what does this button do? And push it. Look, this war should have been stopped a long, long, long time ago. The fact that Howie Hawkins is tweeting out stuff like this should tell all of us and should inform all of us just how easily manipulated a lot of us can be to be pro-war because we think Russia somehow rigged the 2016 election. That's not true. Again, looking at the Muir report, looking at the Durham report, What does it say? That Russiagate and all this hype that we had to deal with in the aftermath of Trump ascending to the White House was nothing but one big lie. That was Rachel Maddow's bread and butter. And if you give me a moment, I just have to get this off my chest.
Sure.
When we look at the beginning stages of the war, before it started, before the war was getting started, what were our fantastic lawmakers doing? I've said this on the show, on my show, all the time, and I really want to drill this into people's heads. What were our lawmakers doing in the U.S. Senate and House, both Democrat and Republican? They were preparing to make a huge financial killing before the first Russian tank crossed the border. And as those Russian tanks crossed the border, did our lawmakers set an emergency session for the Senate and House to call for diplomatic talks and peace talks right away? No, they didn't. They called their third-party brokers, they called their investment people, and they started making huge financial killings. If you don't believe me, check out Unusual Whales. Go ahead, and you will see where your oh-so-fantastic Democratic and Republican lawmakers were at and what they were doing and how much a big financial profit that they made in the early stages of the Ukrainian war that's taking place now. So, in other words, it's all about profit. Hey, Howie Hawkins, look, I'm all for third parties. I know that the People's Party has its problems. I know for a fact the Greens have their problems. But when you start parroting the stuff that you hear from the Democratic Party and from corporate media, what makes you think there's going to be an influx of people that want to support you when you're sounding exactly the same as everybody else in this neoliberal nightmare? And, while I believe right now the counteroffensive is taking place, a couple of those Ukrainian tanks and those German-made Leopards, they're being destroyed. Billions of dollars in military tech equipment being destroyed right now. Now, I don't know what the end result will be for the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Maybe they'll be successful, maybe not. But all I could see is all the countless waste of money, of resources being denied to the American people. All these aid packages going when, in fact, all these aid packages could have never happened in the first place if there were actually reasonable people calling for diplomacy. But we're not ruled by reasonable people. We're ruled by sociopaths that want to profit off of war and suffering. Mm-hmm. If Biden or anyone else in NATO actually gave a damn about peace, they would try to do everything they can to ensure diplomacy and peace talks take root right away. But they chose not to. And so I have to wonder, in a Howie Hawkins administration, gee, Howie, are you going to be explaining to the American people why we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine when there are neighborhoods that lack clean drinking water, our schools aren't being properly funded, our trains are derailing, small businesses are being shut down? I mean, in the aftermath of the 2020 pandemic, where's the bailout for the American people? Where's our financial relief as inflation is impacting us? Where are our resources? Where is the help for the people?
Yeah.
We're not getting it. So third-party candidates, if you want to be different, be consistent. Break away from the neoliberal narrative. So what I had to say, because I know that there's been talks about maybe Dr. Cornel West meeting up with the Greens and Chris Hedges about the campaign because of ballot access. I know Indy Left and Case Study QB posted that video where Chris Hedges is saying, hey, I'm talking to Dr. West, and we were going to be setting up a meeting with the Green Party tomorrow morning, which is today, by the way. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Greens, you need to reevaluate your leadership, just like People's Party has to. Hell, even Libertarians too. All right, but I'll save my commentary about Libertarians for another day because at least they can actually fight and get on the ballot. But that's another story. When you have a party that's still promoting pro-war, Howie Hawkins, are you well aware where Dr. West stands on this? Should he potentially maybe switch parties and run as a Green? Are you well aware of where he stands on peace talks and how he's reaching out to people across the aisle? Because right here, this tells me why his campaign in 2020, Howie Hawkins, was an absolute failure. That's my rant. That's just my rant.
There's rumors of Howie Hawkins actually running in 2024. Just like
God, great! So the dime store version of the chicken lawyer from Futurama is going to be running again. Awesome. That was mean. I'm sorry. Body positivity. I'm sorry. That wasn't nice. That wasn't nice. I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah. But the one person who is in the Green Party called him out, called Howie Hawkins out. And I've had this person on my channel before, and she is very cool. And I consider her a friend of the Jaybefaunt channel. And this is Delia Barrios. She ran for the Green Party. She ran under the Green Party for Texas governor. And this is what she says to Howie Hawkins. She said, "You, quote, you are the worst candidate. Tell the people that you wouldn't share Texas lists with me because your campaign manager wouldn't let you. This was you last week who is paying for you to fly to other nations and stare at your phone during important meetings." And she actually has a picture of him, at his phone during a meeting, and he was flown by the Green Party. So, and the part about Texas lists is, I'm going to say for now, alleged, because I don't have the details of that. But at the same time, this is what Delia Barrios is basically saying. And this is sad because now you have people who are within the Green Party that are actually saying that, yeah, we don't like him either. And it's like, isn't the Green Party supposed to be a pro-peace, anti-war party? I mean, that's what I was under the assumption of. And so, while knowing, I'll admit, I don't know as much as other people regarding the issue of Ukraine. I don't know as much as Nick Cruz or Denny Haifong. I don't know as much as maybe they do, or somebody, somebody like maybe Caleb Maupin or Benjamin Norton. I don't know as much as they do, but I know enough to know that this is pretty much due to NATO pushing eastward so much to the point where it put a threat. It basically threatened, Russia. And so if you continuously come at my house with guns closer and closer, that threat becomes higher and higher. And on top of that, when you have people who are in the Donbass and in Ukraine and who are being killed, and then they go to Russia and go, "Please help us," ethnic Russian and Russian-speaking Ukrainians, and say, "Help us," and then Russia goes, "Okay, we're going to go in." On top of all that, because they're being influenced, because the people against them are being influenced by the West through a coup.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, Russia's at fault, but they were pushed to that position. So while knowing that, and trying to engage in peace talks would be the best solution. And for somebody like Howie Hawkins to say no peace talks, just Ukraine needs to defeat them with the power of the West behind them. Do you want a nuclear war? Because that's how you get a nuclear war, Howie. Howard, we need peace talks, Howard. We're not going to continuously fund this proxy war while giving billions to Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, and all the other companies. And then you have these politicians who you're supposed to be against that are also getting dividends from these same companies. Howard.
When we look at what's happening right now, especially as the counteroffensive is taking place, remember, maybe Howie Hawkins is consuming the neoliberal media, especially when we're given such titles as, well, maybe a exchange of nations who want to launch the nukes. Maybe a nuclear winter isn't so bad after all, because they've been posting early. A few months ago, they were posting articles like, maybe it won't be so bad. Let me let you all in a little hint. See these cell phones, see these computer screens, see me and JB and all of you in the chat, all of us talking. If the nukes start flying and the mushroom clouds are in the sky, that's it. We're never coming back to this point in technology. All the resources dragged out of the earth to make this, make communications the way they are, the way the societies are the way they are. There's no going back to that. It's never going to get rebuilt. Many areas will be uninhabitable for humans. The survivors will envy the dead. Humanity will stagnate back to a time in which before we ever had even indoor plumbing. So, as far as I'm concerned, if people are in such a super fast rush to go ahead and have this war escalate, know this. A lot of us will not be there at the finish line. It is downright disheartening when you see people saying continue the war, or oh wow, Russia is getting invaded, or oh, here comes this Ukrainian counteroffense. And then on the other side, oh, look at all these Ukrainians. All I'm thinking is all the lives lost, which I got to quote Donald Trump, probably the only reasonable person who's saying, I want people to stop dying. Dying. He said that in the CNN town hall. Again, I don't know how authentic Trump is. The man is a perpetual liar. That's all he is. But when he's saying, I want people to stop dying, and he comes off as more reasonable and not as unhinged as Nikki Haley, then I got to say, okay, Trump's the only reasonable person here, because maybe he sees the big picture. Maybe he's like, I don't want my favorite places, and I want my golfing area, my resort, Mar-a-Lago, to become an irradiated wasteland. Okay, Trump, selfish reasons, but okay, the rest of us get to live too. It's just how pathetic it is. The Green Party, you're supposed to be the anti-war party, the peace party, right? I mean, that's your MO. That's how you operated. That's what you're all about. And now I'm hearing all these former anti-war people, all these activists. Hold on. This just came out the jar. All of these anti-war activists who kept on screaming and marching in the streets. Trump is going to cause World War III. Now they're all cheerleading for it. More weapons, more money. Hey, stupids. We're suffering through an inflation. And right now, while you're in your nice little house, drinking your lattes and posting on social media, oh, this indictment's going to bring down Trump, we're edging closer to the extinction of the human species and an absolute financial collapse. Priorities? No wonder, as it stands right now. A lot of these activists and people are quiet. They never meant a single thing. They never were consistent in where they stood on the issues. And that goes for everything. The kids in cages. Hey, Rob Reiner. Hey, fathead. Those kids are still in cages. You going to get in your car? I remember when he tweeted out, hang on, kids. We're going to come and get you. Hang on. You're going to get out of those cages. Or then all the people saying, we're going to protest in the streets if Trump gets rid of Roe v. Wade. I don't see any of you out there. Where are you? Oh, none of you believe a single goddamn word you said. Now the anti-war people. Oh, we need to have this ongoing war. We got to give them more tanks. Release the leopards. That's why I have a lot of harsh criticism towards the activist community, because I remember interviewing these people. And I remember interviewing them, especially the anti-war group. And every time in downtown Chicago, they'd start somewhere and then protest right in front of Trump Tower. And I always ask, even Daniel asked him this too, like, hey, okay, what's the end? Okay, you do this protest, but what else? What else are you going to do? That's why I call people like Rome or Misty Winston one of the dauntless few, Jose Vega. I mean, at least they have consistency and actually have follow-through. That's a key word, follow-through. Mm-hmm. They are the exception. The general rule of most of those activists from 2016 to 2020, and even now, they're just going along. They're just going along with it. They're just LARPing. All these people saying, oh, we're part of a resistance. What you were afraid of Trump was doing, Biden is doing it. So all these people who said, oh, we got to resist fascism. You know what? I look at those people the same way I look at people who say, if I was alive during the Civil War era, I would have helped the slaves. If I was alive during World War II, I would have helped the Jews escape the Nazis. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. No. I raise a huge eyebrow when I hear somebody say like, and I actually had somebody say to me, well, gee, Kent, what would you do? I'll be like, okay, well, let me tell you something. If I was born and during that era, during the Civil War era, or during World War II in Europe, I would not be who I am now because of the events in my life made me who I am right now speaking to you, JB. So I don't know what kind of person I would be during those two time eras. I hope I'd be a good person. I hope I'm reasonable enough. But I don't know that. And then I had a dumbass liberal chime in. It's like, okay, what if you time traveled? and went back in time, like, well, I'd find a way to get out because I'm an anomaly. I have to get out of the time. So no, you got to get out of that. You don't want to cause you don't want to interfere with the timeline or anything like that. So there you go. I mean, that's really how I view things. It's so stupid when you see people like Howie Hawkins then promoting all this ongoing war. You're part of the Green Party. You're part of that movement. You're supposed to be anti-war, and yet you're tweeting out stuff of ongoing war. That's just my rant.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the facts of what's the actual facts on the ground regarding this proxy war, dude, what are you doing? That's my question. And I'm at a point right now where I'm just like, yeah, we need more people who are going to say the opposite of what the establishment is saying, because the establishment keeps putting out the same narrative over and over and over. We have to stop, insert, major evil person in the world, and then an uptick in our military actions all over the world. And so, and they will uptick on these military actions without actually taking care of any of the veterans that come home from doing any of these military actions, because they really don't care.